Hey everyone, this is Cindy. This is an open door, April 27th, 2026, where the rubber meets the road. It's the hour where we pull an idea, a thought, a teaching from A Course in Miracles, and we discuss how it relates to who we are and how we show up and everything else. And the guidance for this week was to focus on workbook lesson 240. Fear is not justified in any form. Sandra's not here at the moment. Maybe she'll show up, but it's her voice in my head that continually reminds me that the Course in Miracles is true. It's true. I'm so happy that it's true. The idea of spending so much time with a teaching that is not going to help me live a life, a teaching that isn't true, doesn't make any sense. I don't invest a lot in entertainment. Life is entertainment enough. So I am very glad to hear that the teachings, when you sit with them in a conscious way, are always pointing or opening or clearly stating all we need to know. And so just this one teaching, fear is not justified in any form. It doesn't say fear doesn't come up, by the way, because it's going to be a part of what I share today, but it's not justified. So I am going to read from this lesson. I'm going to play a song. I'm going to share a little bit about my experience over the last couple of days, and then I'm going to hand things over to Andrew and then open it up for the entire group. So here is what this lesson states. And remember, as I read it, you can go ahead and close your eyes and just sink in this understanding that there's not exceptions to the teachings is very useful for me. So fear is not justified in any form. Fear is deception. It attests that you have seen yourself as you could never be, and therefore look upon a world which is impossible. No one thing in this world is true. No one thing in this world is true. And I'm inspired because I've been listening to this podcast and I sent an email out this morning because the podcast we're discussing on Thursday is 3 hours long. So I don't recommend you wait until Thursday morning to start listening. It's worth listening, and you could totally listen while you're taking a walk or doing other things. You don't have to sit and feverishly take notes for 3 hours. But one of the things that I was just listening to him say this morning was the Pacific, in any given moment in the Pacific Ocean, there could be tens of thousands, if not more, waves, but it's all still just water, right? So no matter how many waves there are in the Pacific Ocean, when you take a look, it's all just water. And the reason why this is coming up right now is because when I hear and when I sit in this, no one thing in this world is true. To me, what it's stating is go ahead and try to pull a wave out of the ocean and have it be a separate thing. A wave is just movement in the ocean. And what you and I are movement and consciousness. We're not a thing separate from God. And that's what this teaching means to me. No one thing separate from the divine, separate from consciousness, separate from God could ever really even be, no matter what the thinking mind tells you. And when you're not separate and you really, with every fiber of your being, know you never left your source, there can be no fear that's justified. It could be there as an experience. But once you take a look at it and try to find a real, true reason for it, you will discover that it doesn't exist. So no one thing in this world is true, and it doesn't matter what the form in which it may appear. So there's no exceptions to this rule. And we could talk in general about how we love A Course in Miracles, and it's a good pointing, but right there it says there are no exceptions. There's nothing in the world that is outside of this basic teaching that everything is the divine, everything is consciousness, everything is God. So fear, it just witnesses but to your own illusions of yourself, this belief that you could have left your source. That's all. Let us not be deceived today. We are the Son of God. We are an extension of that which created us and not separate from. We could never be separate. There is no fear in us, for we are each a part of love itself. As I, fear is not justified in any form. So let's just listen to music for a few minutes, and there's an invitation to just be with that. Go ahead. If there's a fear story, anything at all, I don't care if it's a spider bite. I don't care if you literally do not know how you're going to pay for a meal an hour from now. Um, or if the body's taken and unaccepted, or you don't know where your children are, whatever it is, go ahead and look for a direct evidence, proof that whatever it is that the mind is spinning a tale of fear on, look to see where it exists outside of the source of all things. Look for direct evidence. Look gently, not with the mind, though. Direct evidence that your fear is justified. And I'll play a song.
It's a beautiful day. Sun is shining so bright. I know love is the only way. So it's a beautiful day. I don't have nothing on my mind, no. I don't care what he say. I don't need him to waste my time, no. It's a beautiful day. And it's a wonderful life. Lord, I hope you can see there is no need for stress or strife, no. It's a wonderful life. I don't have anywhere to be, no. I don't care for my rights. I don't have anyone to see, no. It's a wonderful life. And it's a beautiful day. Sun is shining so bright. I don't have nothing else to say, no. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day.
All right. So going to bring this teaching into Cyndi's life experience for just a few minutes, and then I'll hand it over to Andrew. Thursday morning, I got on a plane. There was a stop to go spend Thursday, Friday, Saturday with my sisters in Florida to celebrate my younger sister's birthday. And then there was a flight back yesterday. It's a beautiful opportunity to experience life, consciousness outside of the routine, lots of opportunities for new things to occur. Um, So here's what I discovered. The first thing I discovered that there are certain things about programmed, they feel programs within my system, fear responses. And one of them, just in general, is for whatever reason, my nervous system does not want to allow Cyndi to sleep when there's a flight the next day, especially an early morning flight. An Uber was picking me up yesterday morning at 10 to 5 in the morning. And for some reason, even though I'm typically up by 4:30, this system didn't sleep. So there was a some sort of nervous system kind of response to the world in that particular circumstance. The thing was, I was present to it. I listened to a lot of guides. I walked around. I did different things. I watched a thinking mind more than once attempt to tell me that it shouldn't be happening or it would create an uncomfortable day or whatever, but it didn't have any weight. I just continually sat with whatever came up. So there's a recognition here that the physical form is going to unwind and release fear responses whenever it's going to unwind and release fear responses. Um, so I watched the physical form respond in a way that one could identify frightened that I wouldn't make, wouldn't be awake to step outside into an Uber, even though, but I didn't feel frightened. So there is this experience happening here anyway that separates storytelling from physical response. And I don't even invest a lot of energy in why that is. It's just what's happening. The so that I wanted to say that out loud, like the form is still doing what the form is doing, though I got to tell you, it wasn't uncomfortable, which is a very interesting way of putting it. I was so present to that whole experience. Um, I didn't really enjoy it, but I didn't mind it. Uh, so that's still happening. And it's so cool to be aware of it. The second part of this experience, which again, holding on to this idea, for me at this point, fear, judgment, thoughts of attack and defend, wanting to prove my position, wanting to make somebody else wrong, wanting to complain about any little thing, all of that is sort of sitting in the same fear bucket for me. The I have such a beautiful trust in the guides' teaching, and the guides have clearly stated that fear and separation, a denial of the divine, are all just different words for the same thing, you know. And when you dissolve all sense of separate, there is no fear. There is no stating that anything should be outside of God, because everything is consciousness. So it's all just an idea. So for me, and defense thoughts and attack thoughts and judgment thoughts, they only arise in a mind that calls itself separate from somebody else. So all of it really sat in one bucket for me over the last 4 days. And in the most part, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of it, which was kind of cool. I noticed things occurring that didn't affect my peace of mind, which was extraordinary. And what I want to state, based on my understanding of Cyndi over the last 20 years, that I trust, is that the whatever it is that pulled me into showing up every day, doing the best I can every day, saying yes to the teachings that show up for me intentionally, is doing whatever it's doing. Like I love that the guides say the tone does the work. Um, the course says the father takes the last step. Even Byron Katie said even after her awakening, like when the ego dropped, she still went out into the desert for hours and hours and days and questioned her mind until there was nothing left to question. And still every once in a while, these separation-based thoughts come up, right? So to me, one of the things that I got to watch over the last 4 days is how much this system has shifted that I wouldn't have noticed having just done what I always do. Like I do what I do and I practice every day. I show up and then I went out into this other experience and I was able to look and say, wow, it works. The other thing that I noticed over the last 4 days, which was very, very cool for me, is that I was able to watch when the system got triggered. The mind body would still had somebody would say something or do something, and I was able to see the activity of the mind body open up and begin to create an upset, for instance, or a need to defend. But I watched it from a presence that was out here, and I just smiled, and it had nowhere to land. I've started to call that the wet kindling. Um, it's like a wet kindling phenomena. How this seeming projection of an outer world seemed to turn something on, but it couldn't light up. So that was really, really, really cool. And just part of what was working for me so effectively in all this was this specific teaching. So if something would occur, I'd hear my sister say, I'm really upset about this, which is, there are a lot of stories. I would look and there might be something in here, and it really felt programmed. It really felt like something was just saying, oh, you're supposed to be upset about this, or you're supposed to be angry about this, or this is supposed to scare you. And it would start to open up. And then the teachings, which I trust completely, would be here, and I'd look, oh, no, no, fear is never justified. And what I am was never born and will never die. And there's no place that God is not. And I'd rest there and I'd almost be able to like watch the programming just start to weaken. And again, what kindling? It didn't take root. It never took root, which is extraordinary. And so from this wider perspective and awareness and trust in the teachings, the other thing I really noticed, I was born into a family and it was one of the things I was looking for. I mean, I was going to West Palm Beach, and man, maybe 1% of the population weighed more than a twig. I don't know. It's a different kind of like, I think I said it last week before I left. It's the world of Botox parties and you know, one house more beautiful than the next, and all types of things. And I was sitting and I did notice the programming here, wanting to judge and compare. Um, and then I noticed sitting in an airport in Baltimore longer, I looked around and what I noticed was everybody had a different shape, everybody was a different color, different accents, different languages, different ages, and it just it like exploded in me how beautiful everyone was. Like the idea that beauty is limited to a certain body shape or hair color or eyes or age. I'm looking at it going, that don't make no sense. Everybody was so stunning and so varied. And it has activated in me, and I was consciously aware in a good way how these thoughts would still arise in Cyndi, especially in the spa day where everybody's walking around in robes. And I tended to look saying, she's bigger than I am, she's littler than I am, and I'm watching it happen, but I'm doing it from this space of entertainment. Like, oh, awareness alone is curative. If I'm judging, that means there's fear. I don't have to fix the fear. I just recognize that it comes from something old and it's not something I need to protect myself. And by the time I left, it was all but gone, the day of the spa. So, yeah, before I hand things over to Andrew, key part of this message that I want to hear myself say is that in this experience of linear time, which is still quite uh, um, apparent for me, even if I don't believe it, time is my friend. And there is a progression and a practice and a process. And remembering that this knowing the truth of who I am and knowing consciousness is all there is, I can accept it. I trust it. And the trust and the acceptance is giving me what I need to say yes to the practice. And the yes to the practice is allowing the truth to come in and make the changes. And for me, anyway, I'm going to use the word because it was in it's a progressive path. So I could trust the truth of the non-dual direct path. And Cyndi in linear time is experiencing progression in her experience of the truth. It's just what's happening. And and it was a beautiful experience to be able to see all of that over these last couple of days. And fear is not justified. And resting around it and allowing myself to not be afraid when it comes up and not call it a failure, but a success, because when fear is showing up and I can allow the experience of it without telling stories about it or judging it, doesn't seem to last very long. And even when it's there, it's nowhere near as uncomfortable as I remember it used to be. So that's what I have for now as I hand things over to Andrew. And I love being here.
Thank you, Cyndi. Hello, everyone. I love you all. It's great to see you all again. And Cyndi, you're proof that this practice works, working the Course in Miracles, all the spiritual practices that are about non-duality. What is it that we fear? We fear it can't be death because we believe in the eternal spirit. Most religions teach that we have an eternal spirit. I know Christianity, some Christian denominations say that, well, if you die with sin, you're going to go to hell for eternity and burn, and that makes no sense. But certainly an eternal spirit does. So we don't fear death. There shouldn't be a reason to fear death. But we still can fear things in the physical world. We can feel fear pain, fear injury, fear starvation, fear abandonment, uh, that sort of thing. It's all related to the body, all related to the ego, which is the ego is the part of the mind that identifies solely with the body. So our bodies are our ego identification, but our minds are much more than just the ego. Ego's a dream. This whole world is a dream. And yet, we do feel fear when we're facing an operation or a surgery or something. And how to address that, I think live in the now might be helpful. Live in the now. How are you at this instant? This instant, everything is good. Just live in the now. Of course, we have to, plan for things like if we need to pay rent, we have to work. There's things we have to do, but just do your planning and whatever the outcome is, accept the outcome. What we're called to do through these practices are to observe the physical life without judgment and keep on keeping on. That's what I've got. Thank you. Once again, I love you all.
Thank you. Anybody afraid I might call on them? Who would like to share? Hi, Rona.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, good. I have these earbud things in because, well, this is part of the story that I want to share. We're currently getting a new roof. Like someone crawled up there on Friday, and on Saturday, Dave said, "We're getting a new roof." Right? Okay. And very much what Cyndi described is the experience that I've had with this. That fear today is just a thought. It's just a thought. Oh, there's not enough money to pay for a new roof, right? There's the thought. And there seems to be no body response initially. However, if I start to listen to the mind and follow the thinking that starts to roll, then the body gets it. There's like a shake in the stomach and the heart starts to beat a little faster. And none of it is real because I don't know about any of you, but it once I decided this was like sources money, there's never been a bill that hasn't been able to be paid. It comes in and it goes out. So the lesson points to that fear is a deception. So every time, right, I can go, oh, is this true? And usually fear has to do with a future thought. So it immediately points to me that I am not in now. I'm out of now. All I was told was that the roof was getting done. There's nothing else that was asked of me personally, you know. Um, and then noticing the fear. It's another opportunity to shift to trust and remember what I'm learning, practicing the presence of now and of source. Remembering nothing is separate from source. No one is separate from source. And so I'm just looking at it like an opportunity. Something like this, just a few 24 hours ago, would have had me constricted and obsessively thinking about it all the time. But now that I know truth, which there is nothing to fear, right here, right now, all is well. And they are slamming on the roof above me, and I can still be here and enjoy the message of, I receive these messages every day. There is nothing to fear. What is real The moment is real. And there's just stuff flying off the roof and the windows. And I'm just giggling. Boy, is this different. Way different. I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Nadego.
Hi everyone. Um, I love so much being here. And it's just so amazing how I just keep getting guided and I just keep surrendering. And I just know more and more that everything is love. There's nothing else. It's just we don't know it and we don't believe it. But more and more, I know it's true. And even like I'm like speechless because actually, I mean, and I honestly I don't even care what's happening. I just don't because I know it's all God. I know it's all love. I know that there's nothing else. Um, and and actually it's been amazing because I've been guided to do speech therapy or whatever. And and actually I've been getting glimpses. And now I'm going to go through some, I don't even know what it is. And it actually doesn't even really matter to me. I'm going to go through some training to help me with this brain injury. Um, and actually, I don't even care. I don't, because I know what I am. And I know that everything is love and everything is God. There's nothing else. And yeah, so yeah, I love being here with all of you, and I'm just yeah, I'm just speechless, really.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadego. Amy Heibel has her hand raised.
I love you and Dago. You have taught me so much about the power of acceptance. There's so much power in that. And it's a strange paradox that when I accept the power of acceptance, it's not giving anything up. It's actually making me feel more powerful. It's just really amazing. And what Cyndi said too was the the power of consciousness and resting in consciousness as the awareness in which the fear or the experience of fear arises. So you no longer go down the rabbit hole of fear, but you recognize that your awareness is the container in which the fear moves and then subsides and something else comes up. So I really appreciate that. I want to ask your permission, if you will, to read a little bit from Divine Union, because I was reading it last night and it's page 165, and it just deals totally with this lesson today. And so I thought,
Do you want to read it or did you want me to
if
read it?
it's okay for me to read it, I'd love
Oh,
to
of
read it.
course.
Okay. The idolization of fear that has been accrued in the lower field must be left behind. And in fact, it will be. None of you can imagine what it would be like to have a day without fear. Usually, even 5 minutes would be somewhat miraculous. What if I miss the appointment? What if he doesn't like me the way I like him? What if I don't get my way? What if things don't work out? The ideas born in fear that lurk in the corners must be seen, and as you are lifting to the upper room, indeed they will be. And as you abide in the upper room and learn to live without them, you will understand yourselves in very different ways. Who would I be without my fear? What would it be like to live without fear? What would it be like to know a God, any God that simply loved or simply was love? What would it be like to know an ideal of God that was less personal and more universal? What would it be like for both to be true? These are the questions you may begin to ask as you go on this journey, because as we say, nothing can and will be claimed until it is first claimed as possibility. What would it be like is at least entertaining the possibility, and it is a good step forward for the student who wishes more but believes more might be impossible. As you say things are impossible, you concretize that idea, and you devalue the wonderful things that may be present beyond the known or beyond the reality you have lived in. What really struck me about that was when he said, none of you can imagine what it would be like to have a day without fear. Usually, even 5 minutes would be somewhat miraculous. So I did a meditation on that last night and just watched my mind for 5 minutes and saw that it was actually right. There was, even if it was just a little discomfort, no matter what it was, even if it was just a subtle, like a piece of smoke or something, it came across as fear. And a lot of times I don't recognize it because the feeling of fear is so uncomfortable that I immediately start thinking. My mind starts activating and I start thinking of other things because I don't want to rest in the fear that has come up in my awareness. So I just wanted to offer that this morning. I think it goes with this lesson. But what Indigo has taught me is that when the fear comes up and I recognize it, I immediately, as soon as I recognize it, I try to give it over to Source and know that it's come to benefit me in some way and that nothing that I fear can truly harm me. And so I just have to notice it and hand it over. And as soon as I notice it and hand it over, I've done my job. That's all I have to do. It's really easy, simple step. And I may have to do that 1,000 times, but I just do it each time. So thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Libby Laugh Love.
Hey y'all, good afternoon. really good to be with y'all and hear everybody. Thank you. I remember hearing, I just ran on fear. The rabbit was my totem. And I just, it just so in my body. And I remember when I first came into AA and I heard um, the fear, and it's in the big book, it's a fear of not getting what we want or a fear of losing what we have. And that, when I heard that, I was like, yes, that's exactly what that is. That's exactly what that is. And so I'm so grateful that today it's not about me, the small s self. It's not about that. And it's about constantly pausing and going to source. And, what do you want to do next? How can I be of best service to you today? How can this expression be of best service? And I'm more willing to be uncomfortable and to be in the fear I allow it to start coming up, because I'm feeling the safety of being in the divine love. And so I don't have to be afraid of myself anymore, which was my biggest fear. And next, and the close second, was fear of what you thought about me. And so I'm grateful today to understand that it's not about me. It's about being the best expression of the divine love in the world that I can be today. And what is happening is I get to really practice and put into play that love muscle, because a lot of the fear is conditioned. It's just conditioned beliefs and conditioned fears that a lack of love was there. And it gives me an opportunity to practice compassion and practice loving myself so that I can be the best expression of that in the world. It's not making it about me, it's making it about freeing myself up within myself so that I can be the channel, as Amy talks about, to be the conduit. And so to do that, it's clearing up and it's allowing the fear and it's allowing the conditioned beliefs to be heard so that I can shine love on that. And so I'm rather than running in fear, and as y'all continue to teach me, it's opportunities come up. These are opportunities to look at this differently, to look at it without fear, and to bring love into that space. And so anyway, thanks for letting me share.
Okay. Something came up that I want to say as I was listening to you before I hand things over to Lonnie, and I now fully appreciate why I'm saying this in between your share and Lonnie, and maybe Lonnie will know why and say more. Um, in the library is something called the Shift now, Maui, the Shift Maui 2026. It's a 6-day retreat that just ended on Friday with the guides. And I don't, Livy, I hope you're still there because it was in response to some of what you just said.
I am.
Okay. Um, I heard you say a couple of times it's not about me. And that's what activated my desire to say this. What the guides are currently teaching, it's in Divine Union, it was in this weekend, is that that's not what they're teaching. Not exactly. What they're teaching and the way the verbiage is the way that it's coming up, and I'm glad Sandra is here too, because she's helped me with this, is that it's me in multiplicity. So what they are stating now is that the human collective, the human consciousness can now know itself as an individuated expression and as one with the whole at the same time. Over and over and over again, they are stating we're not asking you to stop being you. We're not It's not about you sacrificing who you are and making it about the oneness. It's about being fully yourself and being one with the all at the same time. And this work is bringing us into the ability to do that from this human collective. So every time I heard you say, it's not about me, it's about in service to the divine, something in me got tickled because everything is God. Everything is in God, including me. So I've noticed, well, the good codependent in me that I hardly ever see anymore would make it all about everybody else, right? And it doesn't work that way here anymore. What I've learned is that in making it all about me, I'm making it about loving everything I see, which is a very, very, very different experience than anything that Cyndi, the codependent, would have been able to have. So it's being fully me in multiplicity. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Lonnie.
Thank you for that,
Uh,
Cyndi.
yeah, did that land? Yeah.
It did.
All right, Lonnie, all yours.
Um, I first have to talk about the giggle that's in my system because every time I hear someone say little s self or big S self, we hear it as little ass self and big ass self. Cyndi, I totally understood what you were saying and got it. And what it took me to was about 20 years ago, someone who's walked with me since I was in my early 20s started saying, it's not about you, it is you. And even then, we didn't really understand what that meant. And we would talk about it. She would talk about it. She's like, I just keep hearing that. And today, when we talk, she stands in the recognition of it's everything in the being that one is, except the story about that being. I originally raised my hand about the little s, big S, but also because I am awestruck and in such deep gratitude for the way the opportunities, and I love that that word was used, Livy, and the lessons are just the timeliness of it. You know, right before this session, I was talking to Cyndi and Rona because I thought maybe I had gotten bitten by a spider. But what I really got to sit back and see was what the process had been when I realized what had happened. And so I realized that, well, when it happened, when I felt the discomfort, first I didn't believe it. First I thought maybe I'm imagining something. And then when I looked and saw that things were changing on the skin, I was like, oh, that's an allergy. And immediately there was the thinking of what needs to happen in case this is a major allergy, because this body in the past, because we reached to the past, has had anaphylaxis with certain allergies. So I need to get stuff documented in case something's going to happen. Which, but as I'm looking back to see how that happened, I'm checking to see, was there fear there? Because for a long time, anything that rang in a similar vibration to fear was labeled fear. But not all of that truly was fear. The movement of in case what has happened happens, let me make sure I have documentation. For me was more discernment as we go forward. And so then there was the attention of, paying attention to it, but also being very, very conscious of what I was thinking about it, of not praying, hoping that it goes away, making it go away, but really just being curious about what it was doing, feeling it as it was creeping down my arm and blowing up a little bit more as it went. And even then trying to see is there any fear there? What's going on? Right before I got on the call, there was, this is God's body. And so I got on the call because there was the inclination that maybe I need to go and take care of blah, blah, blah. This is God's body. Get some cortisone, come on the call. Let God take care of this. I had done whatever else I needed to do if it was going to go on and do something else, and I would need physical intervention, but in just that, and then when I got on and you worded through it, it sank in even deeper. This is God's body. This is God expressing through this body, and that's when it hit me. Oh, thank you. All these opportunities and dropped hooks with fear baited on them to see if I wanted to bite one. Thank you so much for just the opportunity to see how those hooks drop down. It could be this, it could be that. Remember this, remember that. Oh, when this, I even told Cyndi the first spider bite I ever had, my eye looked like it was hanging out the socket. For the kid that I was, that was pretty fun to look at, but not so much fun to go through. And even that story is like, oh, wow, I could see all of that, see how it's strung together. In the meantime, the attention that was being given to what was happening on my arm was no longer attention about what was wrong. It was an intention of allowance of whatever is going on. When I feel a little bit of an extra ting or itch, I put a little more cortisone. But that's it. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. Apparently, it's not dangerous because I'm still here breathing and talking to y'all. So then to sit and listen to this lesson, and that, what was the fear is not warranted.
Justified. It's
Just,
not justified in any form.
and I said it back in that moment with just those words, and I was like, wow, what I would have done with that 5 or 10 years ago. But that's 5 or 10 years ago is when because I was doing deep meditation, I had learned how to, for instance, manage my asthma attacks and realized the severity of my asthma attacks happened the minute I said I couldn't breathe. And when I would have one, it became a meditation. And lo and behold, eventually, it all just backed right off. So this is something I've been practicing with this body, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to practice with it today. And grateful for all of you. Love you.
I'm inspired to just remind us all that when we word on anything at all, and it's not about changing the physical form. Wording is just the action of the divine. That's all a word, the movement of the divine. And when we word through something, the indication is we place the divine upon something, and then the divine consciousness, the flow, does what it does. And so in many ways it's just a reminder that there is no separation in consciousness. That's all it is that. And when people ask how long do we have to do this consciously, the response is until you are it. Paul's example is when I walk into a room, I don't tell everybody in the room I'm bald. It's obvious. So when it's obvious that what we are is the movement of the divine, temporary manifestation of the divine, when that is as obvious as Paul's bald head, then it doesn't need to be voiced. But if it's when your system is still entertaining other, like maybe I'm not God here. Maybe there is here, maybe this is a little bit of something separate from all of consciousness. Maybe source did somehow break up into a couple of separate pieces, and here's the evidence of it. Then when we word in those examples, all we're doing is reminding ourselves that there are no separate bits in consciousness. Yeah. Hey, Richard.
Morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Love us all. What works for me, and I don't accept this as everyone's belief, but there's only two realities. There is the real reality, which is oneness And in the oneness, there is no separation. There are no thoughts. There are no things. There are no collectives. There are nothing other than pure love. That's it. Now, other than that, there's a dream, which we think is real. In this dream, there are separate selves, there are separate collectives, there are separate planets, there are separate everything. And we all experience time, space, and form. Now, form may change. The experience within the dream may change, but it's still a dream. So it doesn't matter whether you're talking about collectives or anything else. It's separate from other collectives. So it's still part of the dream. So when you drop into stillness, which is the course and many teachers teach, you experience the oneness of everything. You accept atonement for the self. And you are one with the self, one with everything. You are everything. But when you're in the dream, like Libby was saying, I agree with what she's saying. What we attempt to do is bring the true self in the dream by making it manifest within the separate self. In order to do that, and to experience the happiness that the Course talks about and many teachers talk about, which I prefer to focus on, happiness, not how I'm not making the dream real. I focus on being happy from moment to moment by being the divine, not by looking at what I lack in being the divine. When that comes up, I deal with it. When it doesn't come up, I'm just being. I'm being Richard in a dream, hopefully expressing the love that I am in truth. But I'm not focusing on what is it about Richard that needs to heal. I just be Richard from moment to moment, and when shit hits the fan, I deal with it. I bring it up for observation, I embrace it, I let it go. Sometimes in minutes, sometimes in seconds, sometimes in days, sometimes in weeks. It depends on how much is messing up my mind. So, thanks for letting me share. I would focus on happiness, being happy from moment to moment. Don't give it, you don't give it all your thoughts of, oh, I'm not doing this right, or I should feel this way, I shouldn't be this. Just laugh at yourself, enjoy the present moment, and when shit hits the fan, deal with it. Love us all.
I'm going to repeat myself, even though being muted was an invitation not to. What I was saying was, I must confess that held within Richard's share here was an image, a visual of the shit hitting the fan. All right, we have. Oh, I love us all so very, 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 very much. There are voices that didn't speak, but I feel you all in my heart. I am going to stop the recording.